So to get us started, can you maybe you can tell me a little bit about yourself, and then describe your journey with endometriosis and what kind of impact it had on you, and then we can go from there.
Okay. My name is Melissa Miller. I'm 48 years old, and I've had never-ending issues with my menstrual cycles, with initially in starting back when I was 16 years old. From then on, I've always had issues, medical issues with associated with my cycles. And so it was something that over the years, I kind of just learned how to deal with and function, work, go to school, everything that I did. I learned how to do it around all of these painful issues that I had, and always kind of being told early on that was just how it was. So I, as I got a little bit older, um, my primary care physician and my gynecologist started to inform me of different issues that I might have, and what might be the causes of the painful monthly menstrual cycle that I have, and really debilitating it was at times. And I mean, I've missed countless days of school, I've missed countless days of work with the issues that I had. So um, later on in consulting with doctors that actually were more aware of issues with cysts and painful periods, the endometriosis, it was like a light went off that, wow, it's not just me almost being a baby about how I was feeling, or feeling like embarrassed that I would miss out on things because I felt so bad and it was so painful. So, and I was born and raised in Connecticut, moved down to the DC area for work about 9 years ago. And so a few doctors that I had around here actually were who kind of enlightened me and taught me a little bit about the cysts and the endometriosis. And so that's how I started to learn about it and tried to read as much as I can.
What were some of the biggest challenges you faced when you're looking for to get diagnosed? I know it takes a long time. I think on average you can go around for 12 years before you're even diagnosed with you get the correct diagnosis. So
Yes.
what was the process like for you?
So up until the actual diagnosis, well, it wasn't even quite. So I'll say in 2014, I had a lot of pain, and it was almost to the point where I was like, I was down on the ground, like kind of on all fours because I had such pain and I wasn't quite sure what the issue was. So I went to the emergency room, and they said that I had two, they were hemorrhagic cysts. And so one of them had started to bleed, and they said that after that I needed to follow up with my gynecologist. I was up in Connecticut visiting my family, and they said I needed to follow up with my gynecologist here in Virginia. And when I actually did, and she did the ultrasound, she had said that we were going to try to treat the other cyst, with birth control pills, which I had an ongoing battle with over the years. Birth control pills, because they always made me so sick. And that was always something that was almost the only alternative for me in a method to help me with my pain, with my cycles, with everything. The birth control pill was I felt like the only solution that was ever brought forth to me. And I always had such issues with the birth control pill. I always felt so sick all the time with it. So my gynecologist said, we're going to try the birth control pill for a few months to see if we can shrink the cysts. And if not, then we're going to go in and we'll remove them. Did the birth control pill for a little bit, did not feel well. And they did another sonogram and saw that the cysts had not budged, that one of them seemed to be bleeding. And so she said, we're going to go in laparoscopically and we're going to remove the cyst. Well, when they went in to remove the cyst, they saw that my right ovary had stopped functioning, and it was 3 times the size that it was supposed to be because endometriosis had kind of taken over and stopped my ovary from functioning. And that's really the first, that was in 2015 in August. That was sorry, I apologize. I have 2 dogs and one of them is in the background, of course, playing with the toy. That was the first that I found out about anything to do with endometriosis, was when I had my ovary removed. And I was shocked when I woke up from what I thought was getting 2 cysts removed, because my gynecologist gave me a little bit of a heads up that if there were any issues with the cysts and the ovary, that there might be a chance that the ovary would have to be removed. But she didn't think that that was going to be the case. And that ended up being the case. So when I woke up and she had said that the ovary had gotten removed and it was covered with the endometriosis and it had stopped functioning, it was pretty shocking.
It must be shocking, yeah.
It was. So and luckily at that point, because I don't have any children, and at that point, my husband and myself, we were okay with, we were not going to have children. So my in-laws, I felt like my mother-in-law was so broken up about it, because I think she thought that with having the reality on. So it was very emotional because my family, and everybody was emotional about it. And for me, it's weird because that aspect of it, I really didn't think twice about. I felt like it was going to be relief and almost like, wow, this I think is what kind of is causing a lot of my pain and a lot of my issues. So I felt almost like it was a relief, because I was like, well, see, and I always knew there was something additional going on. And it just, I don't know, it just seemed like there was a lack of information and testing for the issues that I had, because it was chalked up to painful periods and just what I dealt with. So having that ovary removed started the whole process for me with endometriosis. And then after that, I healed and I did start to feel better. And I know my gynecologist at the time said that there were small traces of the endometriosis on my left ovary, but that it definitely didn't appear that it was an issue. And I functioned well after that. I still had painful periods and, very heavy. And I maintained up until it's probably about 6 months ago that I started to have a lot of bleeding, and bled for like a month straight. And so I went to my regular doctor. I went to my gynecologist at the time, and she recommended again that I go on the pill. So now, obviously, at this point, it wasn't going to happen for me. I did not want to go on the birth control pill. And she said that that was really the only recourse for what was going on, because she assumed that I was having issues, cycle issues, but I was also moving in the direction of menopause. So like a perimenopause. So I did not go on the pill, and I kind of let it go for a little bit. And then I just had issues with bleeding again, and that's how I decided. So at that point now, I'd say this was in November, I decided I was going to research a proper gynecologist, surgeon, because I had my blood. I went to my primary care doctor after I did not go back on the pill with my former gynecologist. I kind of was done with her. So I went to my primary care doctor. They did blood work and they did a sonogram, and they said that I had a fibroid. That was the first time I actually heard of a fibroid. And they said that I had a pretty large cyst covering my left ovary. So they recommended that I follow up with my gynecologist, which I didn't. That is where I researched and found Dr. Danilians. And that is why any praise that I can give or any enlightenment to anyone that I can give about this experience, it's for me, it's life-changing. Yeah.
While looking into like second opinions or other options, how did you come across, I guess, the Center for Innovative GYN Care? And what made you decide to go this route with CIGC?
Okay, so once I knew I had the fibroid and that the cyst was pretty large and it was covering the left ovary, for me, in knowing back in 2015 that my gynecologist told me that there were some small signs of the endometriosis on my left ovary, 7.5 years later, I figured, there's a good chance that my left ovary is now probably not functioning so well. Again, I was literally bleeding at least 3 weeks out of 4. And I didn't feel well. I was nervous as to what was going on. I didn't know who to see. And my primary care doctor helped me with doing the blood work and doing the sonogram and actually furthering that there was a bigger issue. So on my own, that's when I started to research. I knew for me at 48 years old, being probably perimenopausal, I knew without a doubt that I wanted to have a hysterectomy. I knew that for me, the only way that I would have some relief and have my life back is to have a hysterectomy and ensure that I can alleviate these issues that I've had since I was 16 years old. So I researched gynecologists, and specifically gynecologists that specialize in fibroids, the endometriosis, hysterectomies, how they perform their hysterectomies. And that is when I narrowed in on Dr. Danilians and CIGC, because when I read about the procedure and how they patented the procedure that was done on me, and I knew that this was what I wanted, and I chose Dr. Danilians because I had a feeling that this was where I needed to go. And I definitely feel like I have feelings about things, and I know when something is right and something is not right. And so the first time I called and scheduled my consultation, and this is where I say in the review that I did, from the moment that I called to schedule a consultation to my last follow-up that I had post-op, everything has been flawless. Everyone has treated me amazingly. every claim that has been put in a short amount of time. I've never had an experience like this with all of the responses and the information. And it's just been, for me, it's been a joy, because this is a big thing in my life to have done. And to be, right now, I'm I'll be going on 6 weeks on Monday, post-op.
Yeah.
I am will be 6 weeks post-op on Monday, and it feels like I never even had surgery, as far as I feel so good. And to know that it's been 6 weeks already, and I have not had any bleeding, and I have not had any pain, as far as what I experienced since I have been 16 years old, I can't even explain how that feels. It feels almost like it's not real. Like, I'm like, wait a minute, did this happen? Like, and I cannot praise everyone enough for how I was treated from beginning to just even to now, and even to speak with you, and everyone that I've spoken to has been so professional and so just personable, and explaining things to me. And it's just been, my experience has been, it's been life-changing.
Oh, great. And this is, like you said, such a huge thing. It's a huge moment in your life. So having your questions answered, and having
Absolutely.
being as forthcoming and as
Yes.
supportive as possible is crucial. So I'm really glad to hear that you were able to get the kind of support that you needed at that time. So
Absolutely.
so how, I guess you touched upon it, but how was your consultation process? And then you said you're feeling well, but how was your surgery? And how are you feeling right now? Did you have any challenges in terms of, like, did you have questions during your consultation? Did you have any fears going
So,
in?
so initially, consultation wise, well, just to set everything up, I know Brandy initially was who I spoke with that set everything up for me and for my consultation. And she was amazing. And she explained everything about verifying my insurance. And because there's a lot of unknowns when you do things like this, and you wonder, I was nervous because I had read such great things about Dr. Danilians and CIGC. And for some reason, I always think that the places that are so great are the ones that your insurance doesn't accept. So it was kind of scary, because again, from the beginning, I thought, and I verified with my insurance, but I just was nervous. And so everything was verified. And I was reassured about everything right from the beginning. So when I met with Dr. Danilians for the first time, I explained, I provided some records that I had done recently with the sonogram and the blood work. And she explained to me, the options of being able to remove the cyst. We can, I mean, the options were, hysterectomy wasn't the only option that I had. And I was 100% like, I'm ready for a hysterectomy. And so she explained to me the differences with the hysterectomy, with removal and cervix also, and the recovery time. And I wanted everything to be taken out. I was ready. And so she, again, just amazing in meeting with her knowledge and her reassurance. She drew me a little diagram of what it would be, what it would entail, even with taking the cervix out or not, and explained why we would or why we wouldn't. And I felt very comfortable in meeting her. And it was nice to meet her and feel comfortable knowing that this is the doctor that will be performing the surgery, because it's nerve-wracking. And again, you think sometimes when you like, it's almost like I stumbled upon, like, was able to find, and almost felt like it was too good to be true. It's nerve-wracking. And after meeting her, and she, without a doubt, made me feel relaxed and assured that whatever I had done, I was in good hands.
Wonderful to hear. And
Yes.
so with that in mind, and I think you mentioned doing your research in terms of like looking for a practice, but what advice would you give for someone who could be struggling with endometriosis? What advice would you give them in terms of seeking treatments?
Without a doubt, in 2023, there are treatments out there. And so, and I'm not young, and I've dealt with this for years. And in years past, the treatments were not available, and there are treatments now. Not just, you don't just have to have a hysterectomy. They do the ablation. There are so many things that can be done to alleviate and treat endometriosis that, without a doubt, my advice to women who have painful periods, just pain, period. Seek help, medical help, because it is out there. And Dr. Danilian's and CIGC, I mean, they're a big resource, because for me, not only was I able to consult with her, but the resources are all on your website also, different resource materials and reading about the procedures, and you can learn all that you need to know. There are different blogs. So I urge women, anyone who is dealing with pain, period, from their cycles to just in general, seek medical treatment, because the treatments are out there. And it's not something, I think, in years past, it was something that was almost embarrassing or hard to come to grips with, that you had such pain and to talk about it. And it's not like that anymore. And I'm so happy that things are the way they are for women, that you can seek help and you can find a treatment that works for you, and you don't have to deal with pain, and you don't have to deal with painful periods. And just, I mean, there are treatments, and I definitely urge women to seek treatments. And if you go to a doctor, gynecologist, and there aren't treatments available, find another one. CIGC is amazing.
Thank you so much. I think that's such a great advice. So finally, is there anything you would want to share about your experience that we haven't touched on in terms of CIGC, something that surprised you? I think you really covered a lot of your experiences.
I'm a talker, so sorry if I talked a lot.
No, you're the perfect kind of person who I love to talk to.
Thanks. So yes, again, my experience from beginning till today has been nothing short of amazing. And I am, when I go to work, my coworkers, my friends, my family, I share all I can about it, because I kind of took this journey on my own, because I didn't have anyone that I felt like, I mean, I have friends and I have family, everyone, some have experienced things like I have experienced and have had hysterectomies. But for me, this road was one that I took on my own, because I didn't stop and I wasn't complacent about treatment. Or so this has been for me, my journey, that I am thrilled at where it's led to. So I cannot say enough about CIGC. You've given me my life back. I thought about, I went on vacation a little bit before my surgery, and all I thought about after my surgery was how I can go on a vacation, or even be in on a road trip, or and not have to worry about bleeding and pain and constant anxiety about making it somewhere or going somewhere, and I'm free.
Oh, yeah, that's all. This is great. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Visa, because again, I even in speaking with you before I spoke with you, and I just everyone you've made me feel comfortable. And so this is not something easy to talk about with anyone because it, but I appreciate, thank you so
I'm
much.
glad to hear that.